If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
The question, how often is alcohol used to self-medicate social anxiety? Answer by Karen R. Luck. Alcohol is used so often to medicate social anxiety that people started calling it the social lubricator. One of the interesting things about this is how widely accepted this is in American culture, and probably in many others as well. While there are many issues with using alcohol to soothe one's social anxiety, one of the biggest ones, besides the obvious addiction issues it can cause, is that it doesn't actually work in any long-term way. In fact, many of my clients who really suffer from anxiety disorders, including social anxiety, find that their anxiety often skyrockets when the alcohol wears off, in the middle of the night, the next morning, etc. Suddenly they find themselves flooded tenfold with anxious thoughts, combined with the unpleasant withdrawal effects, leave them feeling much worse. Of course, this isn't the case for everyone, but since alcohol can lower inhibitions temporarily, including the ones that cause anxiety, this can also lead to people saying and or doing things that temporarily feel easier when they are drinking, but may feel more anxious about later. I call this the shame hangover. One of the things I find fascinating is how certain types of drugs are considered socially acceptable, like alcohol, while others are often looked at as weird or something to be kept secret. I had one client who would take half a Xanax before certain kinds of social situations that caused him a lot of anxiety, and would often mention it to his friends if they asked. He reported to me that he felt that most of his friends were hypocrites, as they would all do shots before talking to girls in a bar, and yet he was taking a medically prescribed pill, not mixing with alcohol, acknowledging openly that he had some anxiety, and often felt that he was considered to be the weird one in this situation. The point is, yes, some people absolutely use alcohol to self-medicate their social anxiety. Of course, not everyone who drinks has social anxiety, but I think the fact that drinking in social settings, as well as using it to reduce social anxiety, is widely considered the norm. This often allows people who are using it to self-soothe to feel that they are part of the group, rather than if they were meditating for a few minutes outside, openly taking an anti-anxiety medication, or doing tree pose in the corner. A2A. Answer by Janine Joy. I didn't become an alcoholic because I recognized that I was using alcohol to feel better in social situations and stopped drinking. I was 18, in college, and had gone out after class 3 nights in a row dancing and drinking. I was working full-time and had to be at work at 7:30 a.m. The fourth day at work, I found myself looking forward to drinking that night. I realized that drinking made me less anxious in social situations, and it frightened me enough to stop drinking more than 1 to 2 drinks a year. It was 2 decades before I stopped highly restricting my alcohol intake. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America, ADAA, reports that around 20% of individuals suffering from an anxiety or mood disorder also battle a substance use disorder, and vice versa. 1. Food is considered the #1 anxiety drug. Alcohol is a close second. Even though only 20% struggle with alcohol use to the point it is considered a disorder, the number who actually self-medicate for social anxiety is much higher. In a given month, 37% of teens use alcohol, and much of that is often to reduce social anxiety. Remember, most teens have to jump through several hoops to drink since it isn't legal for them. More adults drink to help with social anxiety because it is easier for them to obtain alcohol. People with high levels of social anxiety typically report that alcohol helps them feel more comfortable in social situations. 2. I consider peer pressure that one gives into a form of social anxiety. A person who is strong and confident will not give into peer pressure to do something they don't want to do. The lack of confidence or belief that one has the right to choose and that one's choices are as right and valid as the choices their peers want them to make is a form of anxiety. Substances that depress the central nervous system, like benzodiazepines, which consequently are often prescribed to treat anxiety, and alcohol, may actually calm those nerve firings and therefore temporarily dispel some of the difficult psychological symptoms, likely making these substances a popular form of self-medication for these disorders. 3. Unfortunately, alcohol use can increase anxiety after its effects wear off. Social anxiety exists along a continuum from mild to severe. If someone goes to a social event and really looks forward to the first drink, it is an indication that they have some level of social anxiety, or they're alcoholic. If someone goes to a social event and chooses alcohol because they like the particular drink and not because of its mood-altering properties, it is not a sign of social anxiety. My personal favorite drink before my husband introduced me to Frangelico was a strawberry daiquiri. As I learned to be more and more comfortable in my own skin and to like myself more, I began ordering them as virgins on the rare occasions when I had a drink. I find alcohol tends to decrease my mood because my mood is usually very good. I still like the taste, but forego the alcohol. This wouldn't be the case if I hadn't overcome my social anxiety. People with social anxiety disorder report that aside from totally avoiding anxiety-inducing situations, alcohol use is one of their primary means of coping. 4. I can't find any statistics that give precise numbers for the question you asked, so I am going to say frequently as my final answer. Footnotes. 1. Are you self-medicating and masking symptoms of mental illness? 2. Social anxiety disorder and alcohol use. 3. Are you self-medicating and masking symptoms of mental illness? 4. Social anxiety disorder and alcohol use. Answer by Nicole Cravagna. Physical pain and emotional pain register in the brain in the same way. This is big news. A recent paper in the journal Psychological Science published some very interesting results. 1. People experience less social pain when they were taking acetaminophen tablets. Did you catch that? A Tylenol lessens the sting of a breakup, a rejection, or a realization that you weren't invited to the party. Tylenol. It seems so silly to have social pain that a simple Tylenol can cure. There's some solace in pain being very real, like when oxycodone or morphine can't touch it. That's some serious pain. The kinds of pain that Tylenol cures are more like piddly little annoyances that aren't worth getting upset about. So, if a Tylenol can cure the pain of rejection, can it be that rejection isn't important? Why does rejection cause pain in the first place? Is rejection pain something like a twinge in your hip because you slept funny? Or is it more like the ache of a torn ligament that desperately needs surgery? Humans have some pretty clever ways to overcome physical and social pain. We can use Tylenol, apparently, but that's often not the drug of choice. Alcohol, marijuana, and other legal and illegal drugs tend to take the edge off for most people. What's with all this social pain, anyway? Some scientists have suggested that humans are unique in the primate world, in that we share food. No other primates share like we do. We might have altruistic tendencies because of our immaturity at birth or our lifelong need for ridiculously large numbers of calories just to survive. Humans are calorie-intensive creatures, maybe because our brains need a lot of food. So, humans evolved to be obligate social creatures. We live longer when we have a buddy, or tribe, watching out for us. When there's nobody watching out for us, we start to get uncomfortable. This idea of social pain and the pain of rejection might simply be the human body's way of saying, hey, find a buddy. You'll live longer. The body sends us messages all the time. Eat food. She's cute. That guy is mean. We tend to hear these messages as demands from the body. You're starving to death right now. If you don't get their number, you will be a loser. You must protect yourself every time you talk to him. It's possible that the body isn't sending those demands, but instead the body is saying, your ancestors lived to pass on genetic material when they heeded this hunger message and ate a wild tuber. She might enjoy sharing genetic material. He could try to inhibit your ability to pass on genetic material. It's just that the body uses an intense voice that's hard to ignore. It means well. Instead of sitting down and having a philosophical conversation with our bodies about what those physical and social pain messages mean, we tend to just use alcohol, drugs, and other tools to shut our bodies up. Eat food. Shut up. She's cute. Shut up. Has mean. Shut up. There's recent evidence suggesting that heeding the messages that come from our bodies, not in action, but in simply receiving and witnessing those messages, we can raise the threshold at which we feel physical, emotional, and social pain. Eat food. Okay, thank you for the message. We just had a sandwich an hour ago. We are fine for a while. She's cute. Yes, she is. You are right. And she's the boss daughter, so it's not a good idea to pursue her. Has mean. Yes, he can be mean. But he can also be compassionate. Let's give him a chance this time. The body stops sending the message as soon as you witness and hear its plea. You don't have to give in to it. You don't have to change course. Just notice your body's messages without judgment and it will quiet down. Alcohol, drugs, Tylenol, and the other ways that people overcome social pain work well, but they come with side effects. For one, you can't hear your body's messages when you are dampening those messages with these tools. After a while, The body screams bloody murder to be heard. Instead of getting another drink, listen to the message you hear inside. Witness what it tells you, and take a moment to deeply consider that message. Don't act. Just consider. Thank the message and go back to your day. Your social pain threshold will rise noticeably in a week or two when you do this little conversation between you and your body on a regular basis. Footnotes 1. Acetaminophen reduces social pain, behavioral and neural evidence.